Hello and good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, sports fans, we had a lot to talk about this week. There was a huge, new record. I don't know if you guys heard about it. The indoor mile world record was lowered again after being lowered the week prior. So the new time is it is 3:45:15 for a single mile, which is insane.
Nice. I was going to say, you're absolutely not talking about the Super Bowl because
No,
there's not a whole lot to talk about with that.
That was not fun.
Whoa! It was fun. It was fun. Just
I'm happy with the outcome, but it was kind of a boring game to watch.
Yeah, not really an exciting game.
We my neighbor's house, we had one of those fun betting things where it's like 32 different random things to bet on. Commercials, halftime, various things on the game. So that made it fun, kept it interesting. It was a good time. And in your neck of the woods there, you got some news from the Jets team. How are you feeling about that?
Rodgers is not the answer, and the whole Rodgers experiment was a disaster. And with the new coach, new GM, entire new regime coming in, let's just cut ties. It's going to be a massive cap hit. So it unfortunately means we're kind of punting 2025 already as a year before the draft has even happened, but it's time to strip the Band-Aid off. Yeah. It actually would be even worse cap-wise if he played this year and left after next year. So get it over with. Another rebuilding season again, but hopefully we have a non-rebuilding year one of these decades.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what shakes out. I'm interested to see if he goes anywhere too. Always. We only have
the path, future Viking.
That's the way to go. And then the only other sports news I have is if you guys are into basketball, that whole Luka Doncic trade is something else, man. That'd be vetoed in any fantasy league, but it actually happened in real life. So it's man.
Well, there's spring training too. I mean, that's the exciting part here. You're leaving out the league here.
To save the best
for last. That actually care about baseball.
I would say I feel like that's sort of like my least sports knowledge, but hanging with you guys, I might have to start watching and pick a team and stuff here and get my knowledge.
What would the equivalent of that trade be in football? Like I don't know, trading Patrick Mahomes for the corpse of I don't know who's equivalent. Who used to be pretty good.
I'm trying to think of somebody who's pretty good, but then his injury problems. It's that'd be whatever. Insert good player for former good player who battles a lot of injuries, and I think that's your
formula. I can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
Well,
really pretty shocking.
Something we need to make sure we touch on today is happy birthday to friend of the show, Tony Francisco.
Happy birthday.
Today, but I think he will hopefully be joining us next week. So
awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, perfect.
Before we get into the news, I also want to say congratulations to Matt on his nomination as a finalist for the Cybersecurity Leadership Award. Well earned
congrats
recognition.
To you too, Henry.
Thanks. All right, let's get into some actual stories and meat here.
Yeah, we'll get into the first story here. So looking through some tech stories, we're going to start with this one here, the DPRK, which is the North Korean hacker group. Dupe targets into typing PowerShell commands as admin. So this North Korean hacker group is using a new social engineering tactic inspired by ClickFix campaigns. ClickFix tricks its victims into running malicious PowerShell commands by disguising them as necessary fixes. Microsoft found that the hacker group attackers pose as South Korean officials. They build trust and then send phishing emails with fake PDF attachments. Victims are directed to run PowerShell, granting attackers remote access. These attacks have been observed since January of 2025, and they target international organizations, NGOs, and media outlets. Microsoft urges caution and warns against executing code from unknown sources, especially with administrator privileges. Now, the thing that I want to say to this is we've all been in IT long enough. I've worked in call centers. How are these people getting end users to run PowerShell commands as ad over the phone? Because
Right?
there is much less tasks that I haven't been able to get people to do over the phone, much less right clicking on PowerShell, running as admin, and then typing these commands. And it's not just
Trying to get
hack.exe,
someone to reset the
like
print spooler.
Yeah, we can take something away from this as far as user experience goes.
H as in
Yeah.
hotel, A as in alpha, C as in Charlie, K as in kilo, dot. I don't have a dot on my keyboard. The period left of the question mark. Yeah, that was the thing that stood out to me the most when I read that article. Is like, this is kind of unbelievable.
Well, also, like, you should be locking down so that PowerShell's not running. At least it should only be doing in isolated and elevated circumstances. So there really needs to be some type of zero trust type of principles applied to this in the companies that are being targeted.
Or the
Right?
fact
Why-
that they
why
have
should-
local admin.
Exactly. Why can you run as admin to begin with?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna volunteer to I'm gonna go find these on behalf of us, and then spin up a little VM in a sandbox environment. I just want to know their tactics. That's all I'm after, is how they're doing this, how they're able to convince and teach people to run this. I mean, going back to my call center days, one of the most memorable calls that I've had was this person who called in because their internet didn't work, and trying to go through, hey, what lights are on your modem and stuff like that, and they're like, well, nothing, it's in the corner. And I'm like, well, like it needs to be plugged in. Like, if you don't have power, you don't have internet. No, I got the new wireless internet, it doesn't need wires. And like, no, it's like you need to plug it in. Like, nope, it's wireless internet.
That's not
So
how
I
this
just
works.
put it
That's not
wherever
how
I
any of
want,
this
and I
works.
get internet. And I'm like, oh boy. And here we are running PowerShell commands for command and control.
Okay. So let me pose a question for both of you. Reading this, right, from the perspective of an MSP security provider, what do you tell your clients? What do you do, if anything, with this information? Is there an actionable takeaway? Do you send out reminders about cyber hygiene and things to do and not do? Do you go check your configurations? Like, if I'm an MSP watching this, what do I do based on seeing this news?
I guess my input would be that you should already be doing security awareness training and talking about social engineering with your clients, because they are the weakest link. That's where most of your security risk is coming from. So if you're not already doing that, you should be. Like, start right now. As far as whether the story would spur us to do anything special, I don't know that it would specifically, other than we might give an alert to some of our government contracted clients around this specifically that might be at a higher risk. How about you, Josh?
I think like you said, the security awareness training. So we should be doing these sort of things, such as, from a technical side, no local admin, and then the PowerShell restricting, or at least monitoring use of that. But yeah, I mean, it goes the same as, like, hey, if Microsoft calls, whatever, telling you to do this, like, you shouldn't be running things on your computer, downloading things, giving people access. I mean, it doesn't matter who they say they're from. Like, this is just nothing you should be doing about this. So just raising that awareness, and just reminding them. That's what the security awareness training is going over those sort of things continually. And people like to know what's going on out there. So if you share like an actual story with this, then they're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Whereas, we're consuming this stuff daily. They usually don't get stuff until it hits other news sources or social media. So kind of like giving them the in, and a nice gentle reminder. So a good way to build that relationship as you're doing cyber awareness training.
So you're saying I don't have to send these money cards to Matt?
No, don't do that.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
Was
All
counting
right,
on
well,
that.
Matt, since you don't get those gift cards, do you want to go ahead and bring us our next story?
Yeah, let's pull it up. Oh man, you left me the wallow text to read. I see why you wanted me to do this one.
Hey,
Title is, and I'm seeing this live. I have not seen this pre-show. So title is, I want to be a sysadmin, not both a sysadmin and a salesperson. Oh boy, I have some thoughts on that based on the title alone. Just as I'm going to read this out loud, not the entire thing because that would take the whole rest of the show. Sysadmin at an IT MSP. Okay, so this is a tech at an MSP. Feel conflicted in my job because it feels like I have two roles: salesperson and sysadmin engineer support. Okay, so is this what I'm trying to see? Is this a true salesperson or is this a person who's like doing a sales part of the role? Really don't mind putting out fires. Yep. Engineer solution. Yep. In fact, I really enjoy being given. Yep, that's most of us in the tech world. So it's not clear to me exactly what this person is doing. And what I mean by that is this person taking on a sales engineering type role? Not everyone is good at that. Not everyone has the right interpersonal skills for that type of thing, especially if they're doing it solo, right? If you're a sales engineer, pretty much always need to be paired with a salesperson. Or are they talking about the idea of the sysadmin, the tech, identifying things that might lead to sales later, right? They're solving some problem and seeing that this is an opportunity, not to make a sale necessarily, but that the client needs something to improve what they're doing, right? They're getting a lot of VPN issue tickets. Maybe it's time to upgrade the VPN client or the device that they're using. Maybe it was a built-in firewall VPN and other appliance, or maybe they need to move to a SaaS solution so they don't have to VPN in it at all anymore. So I guess my feedback on this is I agree that if you're a sales engineer or if you're like actually doing straight sales, then being asked to do that as a sysadmin and it's not your thing, that might not be a good fit. But if you're being asked to identify things that might be things to take to account manager or inside sales or however your company is structured, that's pretty normal. I don't really see that as being a strange thing.
So the other thing I would say to that, though, and this is where especially at smaller MSPs, so you go somewhere and you realize that the firewalls AOL are not following best practices and say, hey, we need to replace this or we need to redesign it. Bring that to an account manager, assuming it's a different role. Well, now you're also going to be designing that project. You're now the project lead. You're going to be providing input on there. And I think what he's saying too is like, if I mess something up in the sales project, or the sales process, which I think is more of the project process, basically saying the account person is like, hey, I think this should take 10 hours and do this and this. And all the account managers doing is just taking everything and then putting it into the whatever PSA they use and then clicking the send quote button. Then I think they do feel they have more of a sales role. And that's kind of where maybe the internal sysadmin is more of a role that you should be looking at. And on the flip side of things, that's why I like the MSP side, is we get to do a little bit of everything. And I really like doing a lot of the sales engineer stuff, but it is definitely not for everybody. If this person just wants to do tickets and IT stuff and not have to worry about pitching projects or saying that this is a good idea or trying to find things to generate income, I think that's kind of where their frustrations lay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple variables that we don't know about this. One being the size of the organization. So if it's a smaller organization, the Venn diagram overlap between support, sales, and other departments is going to be much more closely overlapped versus a larger organization where they're going to have more clearly defined separation between those roles. But you're still always going to have some overlap between those different departments, especially between certain roles. So depending on if this person is just a tech within the organization, a manager, you're going to have very different overlap between whether you're doing sales and support. I think also if you're talking about someone that's in a sales architect versus account management versus VCIO, you've got also a very different blend there, depending on what your job title, job role are. So I think having a better clarification around what that role actually is, what the job is in relation to the size of the organization, is really going to kind of determine whether they're being asked to kind of step above and beyond, or if it's something that's reasonably an expectation for their size and their role.
But I think that's kind of where one of the distinguished things is either you like the MSP side where for the most part, you're always going to have some sort of separate hat or an additional hat to wear versus the siloed internal, this is all you do. And some people strive on that siloed. Some people strive on, I want to, touch a little bit of everything and do this. And some people just unfortunately aren't cut out for it. And there's nothing against it. It's just what you like to do and what you excel at more.
It does get siloed though as you get bigger. And what I mean by that is the example we used before where somebody taking a support call identifies a larger issue that might need a project to upgrade. As the organization grows and scales, that person is really only making a recommendation to whoever in the org is the technical owner of the account. Some people call them TAMs. Some people have the VCIO kind of wear two hats. But when you get to that point, the person identifying the issue isn't really responsible for quoting and taking care of the architecting. As you get even bigger, you have dedicated architects on the professional services team that handles that. Then it becomes a conversation between the technical account manager and the solutions architects, and different people do quoting and all that stuff. So I think I would also point out just to recognize that if you're a tech in a smaller org, you really are doing two separate roles of the sales thing. It's just due to the size of the company. You're doing both of them, but that's not the way it is in all organizations. In bigger companies, you'll make the recommendation, and I don't want to say you wash your hands of it, but the details and the figuring out and the architecting and the follow-up, that somebody else handles that, and you go back to handling your day-to-day operational things.
Yeah, I can speak to that perfectly between last organization and current organization. Last organization, especially on the Microsoft side, it was me doing it. So I was doing the pre-sales, like the recommendations, the pre-sales, the architecture, the technical demonstration, the scoping, literally everything start to finish except for entering the quote into the PSA and pushing send. I would generate the labor, the scope work, and then account manager would take, copy, paste, push, get the signature, it'd be accepted. Then the ticket would come to me and I would literally perform and then do post follow-up. So from A to Z, I did everything except for M. Now this organization, I get to do A to Z, but there's a lot missing in the middle because we are not siloed, but we do have other people that take care of a lot of the architecture or the design and things like that. So you make the recommendation, work with them on, hey, this is what I think, bounce back and forth. They take care of quite a bit of it. And then we have a separate projects team that would potentially handle that project from M to Z or whatever you want to say. So it does get better. I guess it depends on how you view it, but better. It does get different at different organizations, and especially at scale, as you do get, like you said, more siloed.
Awesome. So basically what we're saying is it depends on your size and you need to clarify your role.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take this next one here. So this one was a super interesting one that come up. The title is Muggles Need Not Apply. IT Cybersecurity Wizard, Computer Network IT Technician Ninja. This was posted to one of the subreddits here. And this is a trip to read, but I don't want to sit here and bash this posting. You definitely, if you post the job description in the notes and definitely read it. But I think what we want to bring up. I'll give the little synopsis here, and then I have a discussion topic on it. So this is a small MSP in Ohio. I believe they're from what it looks like, they're a one-person shop, and they want to hire that second person. They're advertising $22 to $28 an hour plus commission, whatever that looks like. But the role is going to involve troubleshooting, security response, automation, customer service, selling, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, not offering any health insurance benefits or anything. And the candidate must be comfortable wearing multiple hats, handling break fix, supporting managed service, logging tickets, booking appointments, and must get along with the other owner. So really, thoughts on this posting aside, because it is well worth the read. Where it really comes down to is you're a one-man shop and you need to hire that second person. How do you hire that second person? Like, what this guy wants is a second owner, but they're not willing to give the reins of like that second owner. So they want him to work as hard and be as dedicated without having that stake in the company. And we've been in this community a lot. How many times do we see that come up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we can't pay in socks.
Yeah. So what outside of the IT ninja wizard or whatever, I mean, what would your advice to this? Because I don't feel that this job posting is going to get the results that this guy's looking for. So taking how ridiculous it is aside, what would be your advice to the person who posted that?
It's a tricky first step to make. I know when I was going through that, 15 years ago, like you have to kind of like cart before horse a little bit on the sales process to justify hiring someone and paying them what you value them as and what they're worth. The benefit side of it is especially tricky when you're first starting out. Probably one of the things I would recommend that this individual look at is something like a PEO or employee contribution towards a percentage of their health insurance, because you can do that as a private addition or line item onto a pay stubs to try and offset that the inability to compete with some of the benefits that a larger organization might not be able to. And be looking to highlight some of the soft benefits that a smaller organization is going to be able to provide. But realistically, you need to be able to compete on at least the salary with those soft benefits before you can. So really, you have to get your sales down to a point where you can make that justification for the cost that you're going to start to incur.
My advice, the posting is totally ridiculous. I wouldn't even get to the description when I saw the title. Is just you need to be clear about what you're actually looking for in terms of this thing. And what I mean by that is the job description you read, Josh, to me sounds like you're looking for a partner. And are you looking for a partner, or are you looking for a tech sysadmin or a salesperson or an office manager or whatever the role is? And the distinction is, I know people who would be willing to do all of that stuff, but they're going to want equity for that. It's not going to be straight salary, right? If you are looking to only pay someone straight salary, you have to be much more clear in the role that they're taking on. And that description was, I need a senior leader, really partner, but you're offering straight hourly pay. And that just doesn't fit. It's a mismatch in expectation and compensation there.
Yep, and that was the first thing I noticed is the whole IT ninja wizard thing. To me, it comes across as an immature organization, and I'm all about having fun, but having that balance. As I look, I have tons of little fun trinkets on my desk, so I'm not the fun police. But immediately when I see those, I get turned off. But I can, it's hey, we're a loose and fun organization. Work hard, play hard. I get that. But that was the biggest thing for me is if you're going to demand that somebody has the drive and the passion for your business as much as you do, you need a partner, and it needs to be paid appropriately. If you're going to be paying that hourly rate, then you need to have a clearly defined, scoped job role of what they're going to be doing and what their expectations are. At this point, there are no expectations other than you need to work as hard as I can. So you're immediately setting up any new hire to fail because they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing and what does success look like. So I think that's really, and you can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to pick one or the other, and it's not going to go over well with the current job posting, other than getting passed around on various social medias for how ridiculous it is, which could be a tactic in itself. It's like, hey, look at how much exposure we're getting and how many views we're getting, but I don't think it's going to lead to what he's looking for.
Matt had a good point there too with the equity side of that. Is if you don't have the sales currently to justify what is a truly reasonable, you may be able to talk someone, especially a friendly, into taking some equity in your organization for that in place of that pay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially based on the breadth of stuff they're working on. Like, to me, that sounds like I need a business partner, or if you're like a traction shop, right, the visionary implementer divide, and that's someone who likely has an equity stake.
Yep. All right. Well, we solved that guy's problem. Henry, do you want to take us to the next story here?
We did.
Hopefully he's
we
listening.
identified it, maybe.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. So zkLend lost $9.5 million in a crypto heist and is asking the hacker to return 90% of it. Oh man! So the hackers exploited a smart contract flaw to steal 3,600 Ethereum Bitcoin. So vulnerability tied to a rounding error in the mint function. Cue your Office Space references here. Allowed attackers to manipulate the contract and steal funds. Despite attempts to launder the crypto, zkLend issued a message offering the hackers 10% of the stolen funds in exchange for returning 90%. If the hacker does not comply by the deadline, zkLend plans to take legal action. Oh man. Who wants to jump in first on this one?
I mean, it's kind of just funny, right? It's the... What legal action is there? Like, have they identified the person to sue?
Yeah,
we're gonna file our report with the FBI. Who's not gonna care?
Yep. I mean, that's the whole point of the decentralized currency, is it not? Is you don't have any backing, or like you don't have any of the protections that a normal financial institute would. And I'll be the first to admit my understanding of crypto is not that great. There was a couple years ago, I did some Coinbase with some friends at work and did some meme coins, and then I like cashed out 6 months later, and I like lost $4 because I'm like, this is dumb. Like, I don't know anything about this. It's definitely above my knowledge, but then I see stuff like this, and it's just like, I mean, kind of the face palm almost.
Yeah. I guess my understanding would be that the only thing that could potentially help them here is if they're looking at the ledgers and try and track that wallet when they try to actually sell through a broker and hope that the broker is going to play ball with them. But other than that, I have no idea what their recourse would be outside of that.
Yeah, it's gone. And, even if they identify the person, which, right, that's impossible. No court can force a transfer of Bitcoin back. I guess you can, penalize, identify some penalized amount to be paid back. I think it's gone. And the whole story is just kind of amusing and a good reminder of crypto was not necessarily meant to be an investment product in the first place.
Yep, 100% on that. That's how I feel on that.
Like so many other nerds, I fall into the camp of like in 2011 had a bunch of Bitcoin and said, "Man, this is stupid," and got rid of all of it.
That's tangentially there. Since we're talking about Bitcoin, there's a gentleman that also tried to buy a landfill this week because he lost his Bitcoin wallet with 800 million in it.
Yep.
So as I understand, they are not taking him up on that sale offer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess if you're sure it's there, it might be worth it.
Well, at that point, is it even usable? I mean, if he's got a hard drive or like a USB, I think it's just a hard drive where it's sitting there. Like, even if he finds it, there's no way that that's usable anymore because they're constantly like putting earth over it. So just that wear and the tear. I mean, maybe you could send it to data recovery. They can do some magic on that, but I can't like. I feel for the guy. I mean, you literally had 800 million at some point, and it's just you throw it away in the trash, and of course you want to get it back. I mean, that's a life-changing amount. Doesn't even begin to say like how much money that is for an individual. For most of us, I would say. So I feel for him, but man, that's rough. And I know I've had one of my old bosses had quite a bit in Bitcoin, and then lost it due to an attack quite some years ago. And it's like, this is like Matt said, it's not meant to be an investment. At least, I'm not giving financial advice. I know, but that's how I view it anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I do know people that have made out very well for themselves with it as well. So, other side of the coin there. How about in general the whole decentralized structure behind Bitcoin and that the blockchain technology? Where do you guys see that going here in the near future?
In the near future? Yeah, I mean, the near future, probably not anywhere. I see it almost more interesting from an academic background, like the blockchain and potential uses for that. Not so much the currency aspect of it, right? The immutable chain, I think, has some potential uses, but for what? 10 years now, it feels like we've been trying to get this into some mainstream use case, and it's still something of a novelty. And I've heard of some edge cases where businesses are actually using it for specific purposes. And I think it'll just stay like that. Just another tool in the toolbox when needed. But as far as changing the entire world or the financial system, I don't see anything like that happening.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the most educated on it. I've tried understanding it, so it's hard for me to express like an actual opinion on it, because I still don't understand how like a graphics card can mine and get this thing that's currency. I mean, really, at the end of the day, all currency is like, the Bitcoin is this much because everyone agrees that that's how much that it should be. I mean, it's the same with, I know the United States Treasury is supposed to be gold backed, but I don't think that's a thing anymore. So, quite literally, $20 is $20 because we all agree that this is $20, right? And it's the same with the Bitcoin. I mean, that's how much it is because that's what I guess people agree to it. But yeah, it comes with its pros and cons, and one of the biggest cons is what we just saw right there. Like, there's nothing backing it. There's no safety around it. When it's gone, it's gone, and it has that anonymous aspect to it. Can be good and cool, but then for the most part, I think there's more cons than there are pros with it.
Yeah, the benefit to it seems to also be the con around identity.
Yeah,
like you look at like there's some promising cool things around health tech that's using the blockchain, but it still hinges on that identity being protected. And in our experience with the rest of cybersecurity, that still is a constant battle that I don't know that anyone's close to solving.
Yeah, and I'll do our first plug. If you join our Discord and if you want to school me on why I'm wrong about cryptocurrency and help me understand how it works, please feel free. Go ahead and join our Discord. Tag me in there. I would love to learn. I've tried doing the explain like I'm fives, but maybe I just need it explained a little better for me. So
Explain
come
like
check out
I'm
our
four
yeah. Come check out our MSP MMN Discord and come post in there. So let's go ahead and get to our next story here. So Matt, you're up. What do we have up next?
Oh, let me get out the binoculars since I'm on my laptop screen. Oh, okay.
Much
Degrees
smaller.
and certs are not a replacement for experience. Seen a few posts from folks who have plenty of certs or higher degrees, but almost no experience, and they find themselves struggling to get work. Yep. If you spend more time on your degree or certs than you have on practical experiences, you're going to have a bad time. Also true. So there's two sides of this, though. And I'm not agreeing with this. I'm just saying that there is the side of this that many filters for job postings or HR managers will look for certs specifically, almost regardless of experience. So you can't even get the foot in the door without some certs, right? Especially true in the security field in some cases, right? There are a lot of roles that say you have to have your CISP or you have to have your OSCP if you're doing some pen testing type roles, even if you're like awesome at this stuff and have deep experience in it. But in general, like, yeah, I agree with it, right? The term paper certs is a historical thing for a reason, right? People who pass the exam and have no clue what they're doing, right? The old joke with Microsoft was, MCSE was Minesweeper consultant, solitaire expert, right? Like it doesn't show that you know what you're doing necessarily, maybe with the exception of like the practical ones like CCIEs and things like that. But it's two very different things. And at least in our world, and you guys can comment on this as well, the certifications are largely for maintaining partner status almost as much as anything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had applicants. I thinking of one instance where a gentleman applied for a level 1 help desk position with us. No experience. He had a Google IT support certificate, and he had messaged us that the salary range that we had was unacceptable based on his certification, that he should be at least $100,000 starting. And it's just like there's a strong disconnect there between what the experience and certificates are necessarily valued, but also like experience. If someone comes to me and applies with experience over and no certs, I'm probably going to look at them before I look at the person with the certs. You can be a great test taker or a bad test taker. That's the experience is going to speak volumes to what you're actually able to do, especially if you stay at a place for a while. That means it's going to vote their confidence for your skill set.
Yep. The other thing too is, and especially time and time again, cybersecurity, even an entry-level cybersecurity position is not an entry-level job. You have to have an understanding of IT and things like, how are you supposed to either attack or defend things if you don't know how those things work together and understanding Active Directory or networking or cloud? So getting that experience is important. Help desk and going through the roles and getting the doing tickets and things like that is crucial in actually having a true cybersecurity knowledge versus just getting a degree or a cert and having the lab experience. All of that is good, but it doesn't replace the actual on the job training with that.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else we want to add to that other than, how would you say it? So the other side of things though too is how do you get experience if you can't get hired because you don't have experience?
I guess for me, one of the first things would be ask about intern positions or volunteering around certain things, get involved in different clubs or groups, especially some of the like communities and discords and stuff that are out there in our space. Be great places to kind of show and build some of that experience and connections and network. And see about volunteering some time to organizations that are out there that specialize in IT. Obviously, there's GTIA, which is previously CompTIA. They have a program that they run. I think it's international now. It may just be national, but they have a program with working with young students in schools. I think it's their Spark program, where you can teach STEM related things that GTIA provides all the course materials and stuff on. So there are ways to build that experience in your network out.
Yep. I know we have we have a pretty good cybersecurity college here in South Dakota, and one of the things that they do as far as projects is they offer penetration tests and risk tests to local, like, small municipalities. So you're building a portfolio while you're in school of actually doing hands-on work, without technically having a job. So just, not just the degree, but seeing and what other things that you can get involved with and projects and things to build that up.
So I think in general, your question, Josh, stems from, frankly, an inability or perhaps unwillingness is the right word from some applicants to start at the bottom. Right? If you just have a cert and no experience, there shouldn't be an expectation that you get a senior level position right out of the gate. The way you get experience is working the help desk for a while, or doing interns, or going racking and stacking on server installs and PC deployments for a while. That's how you get experience. And when I see those applicants with certs and no experience, what I'm seeing or saying to myself is, this person wants to skip all of that. And the answer to your question, Josh, is you just don't get to skip that stuff.
Yep. That's the key right there. You don't get to skip it. All right. Well, I'll take us here quickly to our last story. A tool that we're probably all familiar with. Turn River Capital to take SolarWinds private in a $4.4 billion deal. SolarWinds announced it will become a private company in that $4.4 billion deal with Turn River Capital, following a trend of debt-funded acquisitions as borrowing costs decrease. The IT management firm's stock rose by 23%, though it had dropped 35% in the past year. Private equity firms are drawn to companies like SolarWinds due to their stable, reoccurring revenue. Turn River Capital will pay $18.50 per share and a 23.1% premium. The deal is expected to close in Q2 with approval from major stakeholders Thomas Bravo and Silver Lake. Wasn't this it just turned public seemingly 4 minutes, and then it was turned private, because it was announced very recently that they went public, correct?
I think that happened shortly after the security incident that they had.
You have to be more specific.
Like 4 years ago.
Well, so yeah, it'll be a few years ago.
Major one.
Yeah, the major one. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's been like 4 years then or so. I mean, that seems like a lot of money, for sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what comes out on it.
Gosh, no, we're just all old. It was 2018. So.
Oh man. Okay.
Ooh. On this, my thoughts are, it's companies and PE firms have all sorts of reasons to do this, right? We're not privy to the why from what's been stated publicly. Transactions are happening all over the place, and for whatever reason, they thought it made sense in the short and long term to go private again. And I think you summed it up, Josh. We're kind of just waiting to see how it turns out.
Yep. I mean, $4.4 billion for a company that has a backdoor into a lot of enterprises is a pretty good price. So,
Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're buying an interesting client base, especially when you look at the federal and enterprise clients that they have. I think this is an interesting subject, though, in the sense of you look at the amount of private equity that is in our industry that is currently trying to push to go public. I know there's a large number of the big players in the industry right now that are all kind of eyeing their following the data route of going public. And curious if you guys think that that's necessarily a good idea, or if it's better for them to remain under private equity in our space.
I'm trying to think like the best way to answer it. I mean, when you go public and stuff like that, then you have your shareholders, and you constantly being evaluated on the stock and trying to do a lot of things for short-term success, rather than what, in my opinion, what the better route on these is building the relationships and developing for long-term partnerships and long-term success, versus that short-term, hey, we need to make sure that every quarter that we're increasing and we're hitting our sales goal and making the shareholders happy. So I would rather things stay private, but this is again also a world that I am not fully knowledgeable about. So I mean, you guys are welcome to tell me I'm wrong, and the benefits of the going public. It does make for interesting news and speculation and comments on it, but I think that's just kind of I don't like the short term and the short-sighted goals that come with the public offering that we unfortunately see quite a bit.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're wrong. It's just two different sides of the same coin. You're either answering to shareholders, or I mean, really, it's shareholders, just private shareholders. If you're answering to a PE firm, and you know what, you have just as many expectations in that side of the world as well, right? There are goals that you need to hit and targets you need to hit, and the difference is, right, in the PE world, you're preparing either for another transaction or initial IPO, as opposed to just answering to shareholders long term. So there's a difference between private without PE money, like in the early startup world, and then investor backed, and then IPO, and the rose-colored glasses when you have full control of everything is the very, very beginning until you take investor money, and that's frankly doesn't last very long unless you can get a lot of private funding, like without people wanting equity in return for it.
Yeah, that's personal preference. Would love to see things stay in the private equity side as opposed to going public, but that's because I think going public only benefits kind of the top, top tier of an organization right before they do their or when they do their IPO, and then it kind of slumps a little bit, and it becomes kind of drawing the value out for clients of that company then, I think, personally. But that said, there are a lot of PEs out there too that there's good and bad, but there are a lot of them in our space that are looking at ways that they can maximize those returns and also making cuts to the support and development that we want to see. So yeah, I think, Matt, you're spot on with ideally everyone keeps it private and those initial stages, but realistically, the world we live in, unfortunately, it kind of have to find that balance of investment from somewhere, and where do those trade-offs go, and how much control?
Yeah, right. They all have their pros and cons, right? I mean, I've been in multiple of these types of environments, and yeah, the no outside money portion is fun. It's hard to scale though. And when you want to start growing, you have to start taking on money, and to take on significant money, going back to our equity conversation, you're probably going to give some of that up.
Well, great conversation and discussion with you guys as always. I believe next Friday we are out because most of us are at conferences. So you'll get a week off from seeing us, but I will personally be at Right of Boom. I know, Henry, you're going to be at Zero Trust World. Matt, you're going to be with me at Right of Boom because we're running a 5K in the early morning, which is going to be fun. I've been training since December 1st for that.
5K in Vegas.
It was really enjoyable last year. It was we actually ran into like people actually racing a 5K, and it was cool. So
actually the favorite thing I've ever done in Vegas was when I get there and I'm still on East Coast time, and so I wake up at like 3 a.m. and go out for a run down the strip. Super fun. Like nobody's there. There's still like the kind of drunk people walking around from the night before, but it's like a totally different world.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything you guys want to plug in the last minute here?
IT Nation Secure registration is open, but more importantly, call for speakers is open. If you have something cool that you want to share with the industry, submit. And if you've never spoken at an event before and you feel like you want to do it for the first time here, hit me up directly because we're working on a speaker mentorship program for first-time speakers.
Matt, I'm going to hit you up on that. Dean keeps bugging me that I need to do some speaking, so let's talk offline here.
Yeah.
For me here, obviously the thing I plug every week is going to be IR games. So please make sure you check out our months. I did develop a new story scenario called Cloud Compromise, and I'm putting everyone through the ringer. This one is full of twists and turns and a lot of hard decisions, and it is going to be a blast. We're currently testing it out, making sure it's ready to go, and we're going to try to play it at the end of the month. So please go check out irgame.ai and sign up for this month's free IR tabletop game. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining in, everybody, and you guys have a fantastic rest of your next 2 weeks. And Matt, looking forward to seeing you.
You too.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye guys.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.